friends, we're here again. This week is not a crafty week. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for a few weeks and I just haven't. I wasn't sure if you'd enjoy it or how useful it would be, but I'm gonna do it. So one of the many things that made me interested, made me feel like starting this channel is, apart from all the knitting, watching videos from the Financial Diet YouTube channel. And I found I really enjoyed their videos. I really liked how frank they were talking about money and how to manage it and how to budget and save, and they have just tons of videos. I think they're really good and I've been watching a lot of them. And so in January, way back on January 1st, I gave myself a challenge that January was going to be a no spend month. And so I told myself that I would not spend anything other than the necessities to live. Like, I still have to pay my rent, I have to buy groceries, I have to pay my bills, like the hydro and the cell phone and all that. But I really wanted to cut down my spending and then see what that was. Like, what is the basic, cheapest, I guess it's not the cheapest, but what is the basic budget that I can live on? Okay, so I've been joined by a dog, and as you can sadly see, he is wearing his latest accessory again. So back at the beginning, this is not about No Spend January. This is about my adorable little buddy. So yeah, he had an operation on his eye to remove a tumor in his eyelid at the beginning of February. He wore the cone for 2 weeks. He was very, very sad. And then everything was healed. We took the cone off, but he wouldn't let the vet take the stitches out. And so he had no cone and like Frankenstein stitches for 2 weeks. And then I noticed him squinting at me. And then one morning I woke up and his eye was just closed, the eye that had the operation. So vet appointment, go to the vet, and it turns out little buddy has an ulcer on the same eye that he had the operation on. And the vet said that he doesn't necessarily think it's related to the operation, and also we would have seen the squinting and those symptoms right after the surgery and in the 2 weeks. And there was 2 weeks where he was fine. So he was either scratching at the stitches that were still sticking out on the outside of the eyelid and scratched his eyeball, or it's just a coincidence and he scratched his eyeball some other way, which is totally possible. He likes sniffing hedges and he just like face plants his whole face into the hedge or into the bush or the tree or whatever, and scratched his eyeball, and now it's an ulcer, and now we have the cone back on. But he's been to the vet twice in the past 5 days? 6 days. Been to the vet twice in the past 6 days. Originally for like, oh my god, his eye, what's happening? And then a few days later for a checkup. And it is healing. Even in the Wednesday to Sunday, between those 2 checkups, it is healing. We just have to keep the cone on for 3 weeks while it finishes healing. So prepare yourself for snores. You gonna lie down? I know he was so sad you has cone on again. His name's Conehead again. Good boy. But anyway, back to No Spend January. I set myself up a calendar because I thought I liked the theory behind the sort of the don't break the chain type apps, where you say you're going to do something every day, like work out or not bite your nails or whatever, and then you check that day off, and then you check the next day off, and then you think about not working out the next day, but then the chain would be broken, so you do it anyway and you check that day off. For the record, that's never worked for me for workouts. But I thought it would be a nice way to see my progress through No Spend January charted. So I have these blank calendar pages, and I picked a few colors of Sharpie, and I picked them. They're kind of pale. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see them. And I used a green one to write no spend on the days when I did not spend. I used a red one to write down not how much or what I bought, but where I spent on each day. And then just for fun, I also was tracking my Etsy sales from my vintage sewing pattern shop. And I started tracking how many times I went to yoga, but I went to yoga twice in all of January. I think that's in all of 2019 so far. So this is January 1st through 27th. You can see the red. I've also circled it in a bigger marker so it stands out better. And then the last few days, 2 spends in that last week of January. And then I didn't keep tracking for February. I thought I might. I didn't in the end. So I thought I did so well on that. I counted up the days, like the spend days that I circled, and there were 9 total. So 9 in all of January. That's like a third-ish, 33-ish%. 30% or so, slightly less. And so I thought that was so great. I was like, good job, Heather. And then just recently, in the past couple weeks, I signed into my Mint account and went through, and because I hadn't actually signed into that account in a while, and went through and did all the sort of tagging and rearranging things that hadn't been tagged as purchases from the right place. And according to Mint, I spent on 16 days, not 9. And I think it's just a really interesting exercise to do. First, I did not buy extra jazz. Like, I bought my groceries and I paid vet bills. We've been to the vet at least every other week since November. And yeah, groceries. I only bought my lunch out, I think, twice. Pet store stuff, transit passes, all that sort of thing. Then I logged into Mint and saw that there were so many other days where I'd spent money, and I thought, what's all that about? But I think what I had been tracking was, like, me personally, this human physical body going out and giving my debit card to people in stores, or cash, but I almost never have cash. And then when I actually track everything that gets automatically taken off, that's a whole other thing. So like some of the days that are different, like there's the Netflix, there's the hydro that comes out, my rent, the parking check, the auto insurance. What really got me was the dog walking. And I just didn't think to write that on the calendar, I guess, because that is me physically going in and e-transferring the money to the dog walker who walks him in the middle of the day when I'm at work. But yeah, it was really interesting to track everything that I was spending so closely, because I have a job now. It's a permanent job. It's the first time I've ever worked and not been on some sort of contract that had a very specific end date. And when I worked in theater, that end date was usually only a few weeks away. So it's the first time I've really known what's going to be coming in every month. It's going to be the same. And I've also, now that I'm not in school anymore, there's no more student loan money coming in. Now it's the student loan money going back out, paying off the student loans, which is another reason I wanted to get all this together. And I think I just really want to encourage everyone to take a close look at your finances, to actually try and make that list of what is my cell phone bill, and you add it to the cell phone and the hydro and the internet and all the bill, your rent or your mortgage or whatever, to really make that budget, because I'm really living on a budget now. It's not that I didn't before, but somehow, I don't know, it feels different now that I'm completely done with school for the second time, and I've got this job, and I know what the job will pay me, and I also know that there's no way to earn extra at said job. And it's been really interesting. I've been looking at my budget. See, it's funny. I think it's important that we talk about money more frankly, especially with young professionals. I still think of myself as a young professional. People leaving school, people going back to school to get another degree because I think they'll learn more. But I'm also still kind of hesitant to actually put numbers out there. Glamour, as well as the Financial Diet, I believe it's Glamour magazine, has been doing a series on YouTube where they talk to women in different income brackets with different yearly salaries, and then they ask them sort of the same series of questions, or what do you spend on this? Or they spend a video going through sort of a bank or credit card statement. And I found those really interesting, but they anonymize most of those, or they have actors read them. And again, it's all super interesting. And I think it's important that we have more conversations about money and things like that. Although, as I said, I'm still in that place where it feels weird to talk about budget numbers. But we'll get there, I guess. I'll get there. So the thing with me and my budget is I'm single. I live in this apartment alone. I feel like I'm too old for roommates. I have had roommates. They're lovely. But I like living on my own, and I've really gotten used to living on my own in the past few years, and I don't know if I could give that up. But I live in one of Canada's most expensive cities, like Toronto and Vancouver. Every time they do one of those rankings of most expensive city to live in, it's like Toronto. The next one is Vancouver. Then it's Toronto. It's Vancouver. But yeah, and I live alone. My apartment's not big. It's rent controlled, which is good. But I have a dog. I'll tell you the dog budget. I budget $600 a month for dog expenses. I went over that a bit in January. Do you want to know what the dog expenses were in February? I know that has nothing to do with no spend January. Because, I mean, the dog expenses are necessary. He needs his food. He needs the vet appointments. And I need someone to walk him because I don't work close enough or have a long enough lunch break to come home and walk him myself. But yeah, so I went over, because we had, I think, 2 vet visits in January. Went over the January budget by a bit. February dog expenses, over $2,000. Over $2,000. It's the month he had his surgery. I mean, that, at least, I pay $80 a month for pet insurance, which is really worth it, especially when stuff like this happens. Really worth it. We use Pet Plan. Yeah, Pet Plan. It's very helpful. It used to be a lot cheaper. I think they changed underwriters. Either that or he hit some sort of age. I mean, he's only 4. But there was a huge jump because it used to be $50 a month up until this past summer. Now it's $80. And I have a deductible, which I don't think I had before. But I had to arrange it so I wasn't paying hundreds of dollars. But yeah, the pet insurance is helpful. You little buddy boo in your little cone? Yeah, little snores. But yeah, so when January first ended, I thought I was very successful because I didn't buy any extra, or I didn't buy any clothes. I didn't buy any extra stuff that wasn't food. I bought 1 ticket to a theater show that I had some friends were in that and involved in that, but I bought the cheap ticket, and that was sort of the only entertainment expense I had in the month, and Netflix. Netflix is so worth it for me because I watch so much Netflix. And yet on a slightly, when I looked more deeper into it, I really see everything I'm spending. It's a little scary. Maybe what I need to do is a cost of owning a dog in the city video. Because dogs, he's so wonderful, but he's an expensive little creature. And he's a loud little creature, especially when he's got the cone on. Something I was very proud of myself in January because, as I said, trying to cut out every extra expense, I canceled my Amazon Prime membership because I was on a plan where you paid yearly. I didn't realize you could pay monthly, but my boss said something about paying his monthly. But anyway, my yearly payment was coming up in January. It was also going to be the first year I wasn't on student Amazon Prime. So it was suddenly going to be a lot more money, and I canceled that. And that was 2 reasons. That was one, so it wouldn't be paying Amazon $90 in my no spend January. And also, without the convenience of it'll be here tomorrow, I thought maybe I will order less off Amazon. And I didn't order anything from Amazon in January. I was very proud. I did order a couple things from Amazon in February. And even without the Prime, they still arrived within a few days. The shipping estimates were about 10 days out, but then everything arrived within 2 to 3 days, so that's fine. But yeah, I know this video was a little rambly and not as well produced as the things I've been watching by the Financial Diet, but I've been putting it off. Like, I collected this information and I still had my calendars taped up to the walls. I've been putting it off because I was uncomfortable talking about it, but I really wanted to do it. So tonight I sat down, I did it. I think we just need to start some conversations about money and earning. And yeah, so I hope this is a good first step. I'm still trying to keep to the no spend January for really the rest of the year if I want to keep being able to pay everything off and put money onto the student loan that I took for granted over the last 2 years. That's my own fault. Yeah, so I'm also really thankful for my stash of yarn, my stash of fabric. In January, with the grocery bills, I was happy for everything that was already sitting in my cupboards. All that was very helpful. But yeah, I encourage you to go watch some of the Financial Diet's videos. I will also link to the, as I said, I'm pretty sure it was Glamour, to the Glamour magazine videos in the YouTube, in the description box. And I hope everyone has a great evening, and we'll see you next week. And next week, I promise you crafty content of some sort.